Amara stood in the doorway of what used to be her childhood home, watching her stepdad Marcus pack his designer suits into garbage bags. 6 months ago, he'd called her a burden and thrown her out. Now she owned the deed. "You have until sunset," she said, her voice steady. The story began in a village where dust settled on everything. Amara had lived there with her mother Nala in a house with cracked walls and a tin roof that sang when it rained. The neighbors knew everyone's business. Women gathered at the well each morning, trading gossip that spread faster than smoke. Amara was 17 when Marcus arrived, wearing polished shoes that clicked against packed earth like they didn't belong. He smiled at Nala like he'd found treasure in the dust. He had a city job, he said, connections, a future that didn't involve hauling water or patching roofs. Nala had been alone for years. Amara's father was a ghost she'd never met, mentioned only in whispers. Marcus promised stability, a house in Lagos where Amara could finish school properly. Nala's eyes softened in a way Amara hadn't seen since childhood. The village women whispered warnings, too smooth, that one. But Nala was tired of struggling, tired of watching her daughter's potential wither in village heat. She married him on a Saturday. Simple ceremony, just papers and Marcus's hand on her waist like ownership. They moved 6 months later. The house in Acacia wasn't much, peeling paint, bars on windows, but it had running water and electricity that worked most nights. Amara got into community college. She studied business administration in classrooms with flickering lights, sitting in back with cheap notebooks where ink bled through pages. She worked weekends at a market stall, selling vegetables under a tarp, coming home with green-stained hands and folded Naira notes she pressed into her mother's palm. Nala never asked, never demanded, but her shoulders relaxed when she held that money, worry lines softening around her eyes. Marcus changed slowly, the kind of slow that makes you doubt your memory. He stayed out later, came home smelling like expensive perfume, stopped asking about Amara's classes, stopped pretending to care when Nala cooked his favorites, jollof rice with fried plantains, egusi soup thick enough to stand a spoon in. He started complaining instead. Rice too dry, soup needing more seasoning, Nala cooked too much or not enough, asked too many questions, didn't understand his stress, his pressure, how hard the city was. Nala shrank under it, cooked more carefully, spoke more quietly, smiled less. Amara watched her mother disappear in increments. She was 19 when she saw Marcus with Simone outside a Victoria Island restaurant, the kind Amara only saw from bus windows. Simone was younger than Nala, draped in gold jewelry, laughing at Marcus's whispers. He kissed her, the kind that erased everything else. Amara stood across the street, frozen, textbooks pulling at her shoulder. She went home and said nothing, climbed into bed fully clothed, and stared at the ceiling until dawn. 2 weeks later, Nala collapsed in the kitchen. Amara heard ceramic cracking, then the softer thud of her mother's body. She found Nala on the floor, conscious but gray, breathing shallow, hand pressed to her chest like holding something inside. The hospital smelled like bleach and desperation. Doctors used words like chronic and deteriorating while looking at clipboards instead of faces. Bills arrived in waves, tests, medication, specialists who charged just to shake their heads. Amara worked triple shifts, morning at the market, afternoon filing papers for cash, night cleaning offices. She slept 4 hours, sometimes 3, sometimes on buses with her head against windows and her bag clutched tight. Her mother's skin turned gray, eyes went hollow. She stopped talking about getting better. Marcus said money was tight, said they'd figure it out, said a lot of things while checking his phone, his cologne, his reflection. Then Amara saw the receipt on the kitchen counter, a designer handbag, 300,000 Naira, for Simone, the name right there on the gift message. She waited until he came home. He was whistling. "We need money for Mama's medication." Marcus didn't look up. "I gave you money last week. That covered 2 days. She needs more. Then work more hours. You bought a handbag for 300,000 naira. His eyes went cold. He stood deliberately. "You go through my things now? I think Mama is dying. Your mother is dramatic. Every little pain is the end of the world. She's fine. She can't get out of bed. Then maybe she should try harder." Something cracked inside Amara's chest. "You're killing her." He stepped closer, using his height. "You are ungrateful. I brought you here. I gave you a roof, and all you do is accuse me and judge me and make everyone miserable. You're cheating on her. I'm living my life. Maybe if your mother tried living hers instead of playing victim, things would be different." Nala died on a Thursday, quietly, in her sleep. Amara found her in the morning, already cold, hand curled around the blanket's edge like reaching for something. The doctor said heart failure. Amara heard "gave up." The funeral was small. Village relatives who could afford bus fare, aunties who'd known Nala as a girl, who remembered her laugh before the world taught her silence. They brought food wrapped in cloth, sang hymns that closed Amara's throat. Marcus arrived late, with Simone in a tight red dress, heels sinking into cemetery earth. They stood in back. He didn't cry, didn't speak, left before the final prayer. 1 week later, Marcus told Amara to leave. She was folding her mother's clothes when he appeared in the doorway. "You need to find somewhere else to stay." "What?" "This is my house. You're an adult. Time to stand on your own." "Mama just died." "And I'm sorry, but life moves on. Simone's moving in. We need the space." "You're throwing me out." "I'm giving you 3 days. That's generous." Her hands went numb. "Where am I supposed to go?" "That's not my problem. You're 19. Get your own place. Be an adult." He changed the locks on the second day. Amara came home to find her key didn't fit. Her clothes were in garbage bags on the step, her mother's jewelry box balanced on top, clasp broken, costume earrings spilling into the street. She stood there 20 minutes, waiting for it to make sense. It didn't. Neighbors passed. Some looked. Most didn't. Mrs. Adeyemi next door stood on her porch, mouth tight, but said nothing. Zainab found her on the curb at sunset. Zainab sold fabrics at the market, lived in a one-room apartment in Mushin. "You can stay with us," she said. No hesitation, no conditions. Amara slept on a couch that smelled like old fabric softener, worked every shift available, ate once daily, sometimes less, saved everything. Creditors called about medical bills, numbers that followed her into sleep. The letter arrived 3 weeks later, official letterhead, regarding the estate of Mr. Chukwudi Okafor. Amara threw it away. Scams were everywhere. Zainab pulled it out that night. "What if it's real?" "It's not." "Just go check." The office in Ikoyi was glass and steel and security guards in military-looking uniforms. Amara felt wrong in her market clothes, worn shoes, broken bag. The receptionist barely looked at her. Mr. Okonkwo was older, sharp-eyed, gray in his beard. "Miss Okafor, thank you for coming." "I don't know why I'm here." "Your father recently passed." "I don't have a father." "You did." He slid a folder across. "Chukwudi Okafor. He and your mother were together briefly. He didn't know about you until 5 years ago. He'd been searching since." Photos. A man with her nose, her eyes, standing before buildings with his name on them, holding a baby, holding her in a faded Polaroid. "He wanted to meet you. Your mother wouldn't respond. He hired investigators, but by the time they found you, he'd been diagnosed. Pancreatic cancer. He had 4 months, lasted 3. Amara's hands shook. "Why didn't he try harder?" "He respected your mother's silence, but he made provisions. You're the sole heir." The number had too many zeros. Mr. Okonkwo repeated it slower. 8.7 million US dollars, properties, investments, cash. Amara stood. Her chair fell. She sat on the floor, stood again. "This is a mistake." "It's not. He didn't even know me. He knew enough. He left letters." She read them on the bus. 5 pages, her father's voice through ink. He explained everything: the brief relationship, Nala's fear when pregnant, her disappearance, his search, his failure, his diagnosis 3 days after finding her address. "I wanted to be your father. I got none of those moments, so I'm giving you this. It's not enough. It will never be enough, but it's everything I have." The first transfer was $250,000. It appeared the next morning. Amara stared at her phone in Zainab's bathroom, numbers glowing like they weren't real. She paid her mother's debts first, every creditor, every hospital. The balance disappeared in a day. She felt nothing, just a hollow space where worry used to live. Mr. Okonkwo called 3 days later. "The house in Ikoi was in your mother's name. She purchased it before marrying Marcus. In her will, it passed to you." Amara sat down. "He doesn't own it?" "Never did. He's been there illegally. We can file for eviction immediately." "Do it." The Victoria Island apartment had floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking water. Amara moved in with 1 suitcase and her mother's broken jewelry box. The silence felt expensive. She walked room to room, waiting to feel different. She just felt alone in bigger rooms. Mr. Okonkwo handled eviction paperwork. Clean, legal, perfect. Amara hired a locksmith, movers, and requested police escort, not from fear, for witnesses, so Marcus would understand this was law, consequence. She arrived noon on Saturday, sun high and brutal. Marcus answered in a silk rathrobe, coffee in hand, annoyed. He saw her and smirked. "Come to beg?" She held out papers. "You have 2 hours to remove your belongings." He laughed. "You can't evict me. This is my house. It was my mother's, now it's mine. The deed is page 3. He snatched the papers, went pale. "This is a mistake." "It's not. I verified twice. My mother bought this before marrying you. You never owned any of it." "You're lying." She gestured to the police car at the curb. "They'll confirm it." Simone appeared in a nightgown, makeup smudged. "Marcus, what's happening?" "Get dressed, now." They packed in garbage bags, designer clothes and shoes stuffed together. Simone cried. Marcus tried negotiating. "Time first. Just give me a week." Amara said nothing. 3 days then." Silence. Then money. "I'll pay rent, whatever you want." Nothing. Then guilt. "I raised you. I was there when you needed a father. I gave you opportunities." Amara watched from the doorway, the same doorway where he told her to leave. "You threw me out." "I was angry. People say things." "You called me a burden, changed the locks while I was at work, threw my mother's jewelry in the street, brought her into my mother's bed before Mama was even cold." "I made mistakes, but this is cruel. Where am I supposed to go?" She thought about Zainab's couch, the 1-room apartment, triple shifts, medical bills, her mother's gray skin, funeral she paid for alone while Marcus showed up late in designer shoes with his mistress. "You have until sunset. Please. If you're still here when the sun goes down, the police will remove you." Movers carried bags to a rusted pickup. Simone sat in the passenger seat, face turned away. Marcus stood on the sidewalk, staring at the house like it might change its mind. Neighbors watched from windows and porches. Mrs. Adeyemi stood with arms crossed, nodding slowly. Everyone knew. Everyone had always known. Marcus tried once more, walked toward her, stopped a few feet away. "I'm sorry for everything." Amara said nothing, went inside, locked the door. stood in the empty living room as the truck started, coughed, caught. The sound faded down the street, turned the corner, disappeared. She found her mother's things in the garage, shoved in boxes, covered in dust, photo albums, jewelry tangled in a shoebox, a recipe book in Nala's handwriting stained with oil and love, baby clothes, a blanket Nala had sewn, stitching uneven but deliberate. Amara sat on concrete and cried for the first time since the funeral, big sobs that hurt her ribs. She cried until there was nothing left, until the light turned orange with sunset. She hired cleaners, professional ones, who wiped away every trace of Marcus. Then painters. They covered his dark colors with warm tones, yellow in her mother's room, bright sunshine yellow. She planted hibiscus in the garden, red ones, her mother's favorites, the kind from the village that bloomed despite everything. Marcus tried calling, texting, showed up 3 weeks later at midnight, drunk or desperate. Amara watched from the upstairs window as he stood under the porch light, mouth moving. She didn't answer. Changed the locks again next morning. Zainab told her the rest. Simone left Marcus when the money ran out. He was staying with a cousin in Ajagunle, working construction, hauling bricks. The silk robes were gone, the designer clothes, the smirk. Amara felt nothing, just distance. She set up a scholarship fund in Nala's name for girls from villages who needed bus fare and textbooks and chances. The first recipient was 17 from a town smaller than Amara's, where the well ran dry 3 months yearly. The girl sobbed over the phone, kept saying thank you until Amara was crying too. The house became a health clinic, free, walk-in. Amara hired doctors who cared more about healing than profit. She kept her mother's yellow room as the waiting area, hung Nala's photo by the door. Just honest, just her mother smiling the way she had before Marcus. People came, slowly, then in streams. Mothers with sick children, old men with pain, women who couldn't afford hospitals. The clinic stayed open 12 hours daily, sometimes more. She visited the grave every Sunday, brought hibiscus when she could find them, told her mother about the clinic, the scholarship. Zainab finishing nursing school rent-free, about Marcus and sunset and feeling nothing afterward, about learning that hardness and strength were sometimes the same thing. 6 months after the eviction, Amara stood on her balcony at night. The city lights smeared across water like paint. She thought about the girl on Zainab's couch who counted coins and wore shoes until the soles separated, about her mother's soft hands, her father searching, Marcus's garbage bags. The anger was gone, burned out somewhere between the funeral and the deed, between the lawyer's office and the yellow room. What remained was clarity. Dignity had never been about money. It was knowing who you were when everything was taken, standing in doorways saying, "Until sunset," without your voice shaking. She thought about tomorrow's clinic patients, next month's scholarship letter, the life her mother tried building in hardship's cracks, the father who searched when it was too late, the version of herself on that curb with garbage bags. Amara exhaled. The city exhaled with her. Somewhere below, someone was struggling, someone was surviving, and here she was finally standing still. She didn't need revenge. She needed to build something that mattered, something her mother would recognize, something that turned pain into open doors and yellow rooms full of light. The night air smelled like salt and possibility. Her phone buzzed. Zainab. "Just finished studying. Your couch saved my life." Amara smiled. That couch saved mine first. She stayed on the balcony until early hours, watching Lagos dream and wake. When she finally went inside, she left the balcony door open. Let the city in. Let the air move through like breathing, like living, like finally, after everything, being free.